Hello, hello. It's really nice to see everyone. Thank you so much for taking the time to join me this afternoon for a chat about this year's hottest topic, artificial intelligence. This presentation is titled, Casting New Light. AI's transformative role in teaching students with blindness and low vision. It sounds pretty specialized, but the information should be valuable for anyone curious about the implications of this rapidly advancing technology. I'm excited to get started. On this title slide, there is an image of a robot with spotlight on it. The robot is holding a magnifying glass that is directing a light from its chest. I did not create this. A generative AI technology called DAL3 created it. Throughout this presentation, you'll see photos created by artificial intelligence. Speaking of artificial intelligence, I have not said a single word that you are listening to. It is voice cloning technology from 11 Labs.
Well, welcome. I'm going to take over now from my virtual self. It's almost virtual in the literal sense. Just like my cloned voice said, I am very excited that you guys all came to join me this afternoon. This is a hot topic. Let's get into it. Who am I? I'm Joe Dlugo. I probably know a lot of you. I work for the Washington State School for the Blind. I'm a teacher of students with visual impairments, a certified orientation mobility specialist, and a certified assistive technology instructional specialist. Right now, I work for a new statewide service group, Outreach Access Services, and I concentrate on mentoring and access technology, which is what brings me here. Before I get into too much stuff, I want to put out this quote from last week from the British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. And he wrote in an op-ed, I believe nothing in our foreseeable future will transform our lives more than artificial intelligence. Like the coming of electricity or the birth of the internet, it will bring new knowledge, new opportunities for economic growth, new advances in human capability, and the chance to solve global problems once thought beyond us. Now, he said that in the context of the AI Safety Summit, which was hosted in England last week. And full disclosure, this sounds like a very positive spin on AI, but he also mentioned at the end of the article that it is also our time to ensure that it is safe. So what we'll cover, we're going to cover 5 things here today, 5 subject matters. Is what is AI? I'm going to start at a place that's not exactly the beginning. I'm not going to get too much into the nuts and bolts of it. I'm going to cover what is AI in case any of you have not encountered it yet. So there'll be discussion for that. I'll talk about who's using it. I'll give you some stats, what's new with AI. And so I'll do some AI tool demos, and that'll take up the meat of it. And what the future holds, looking ahead, and then, of course, safety. All right, so what is AI? This is going to be a very brief explanation, like I said. So artificial intelligence-based systems have been used and talked about for many years. Technologies we're very familiar with. They could perform tasks that previously required human intelligence. So I gave a list of examples. It says recommendations engines, self-driving vehicles, personal assistants, Siri, Alexa, etc. Optical character recognition, which we know very well in this field. Grammarly. Seeing AI as a technology that actually uses AI in the name that we've had out for several years now. And there's an image created by DALL-E 3 of the outline of a human head with circuitry inside of it. Moving on with the explanation, a very big event happened just a little bit over a year ago on November 30th, 2022. A company from San Francisco called OpenAI released ChatGPT, which was a generative AI chatbot. So this is a technology that could create things, in this case text, that previously required human intelligence. So it could respond to a prompt. You put in the text, and it would answer you with a response related to the context of that text that you put in. And so it was like you could have a human-like conversation with the technology. So how did the world treat this? This is the first time a generative AI technology this large is released to the world, and within 2 months, it gets 100 million users. It's a new record. The previous record was 9 months, which was held by TikTok. And since then, AI has been in the news almost daily. If you watch the news, you'll probably have heard a lot about it, and you've probably heard about the controversies surrounding it. And I will get into that. In addition to being very popular and sometimes controversial, it started a huge competition amongst tech giants in Silicon Valley and really across the world. And OpenAI's ChatGPT is still, after a year, the most popular platform, and it is still considered the most capable platform. And it just had a really big overhaul a few days ago. Well, maybe overhaul is not the right term, but a lot of functionality was added to it, and it's now called GPT-4 Turbo. I was talking about all that competition in Silicon Valley. Well, we hear a lot about ChatGPT this, ChatGPT that. And if you haven't used ChatGPT, go on to openai.com, quickly make an account and type in something. You could type in something like, hey, make me a poem about cortical visual impairment, and just see what it can do. Make sure you're sitting down. So the AI landscape is competition, competitive accelerationism, as I've heard one podcast host call it, has caused the world of AI to just explode. So ChatGPT gets all the press, but there are so many other technologies out there that are making their way to the level of capability that ChatGPT can do now. So I have a slide here that's kind of a mess. It has a lot of logos on either side of an image that is created by DALL-E 3 of a futuristic landscape involving elements of technology, nature, and space, and it's entitled The AI Landscape. So the logos include Anthropic, which makes the Claude chatbot, Llama, which is created by Meta, the Facebook parent company, Amazon Bedrock, xAI just released a chatbot this week. That's the X is Elon Musk's company. Their chatbot's called Grok. 11 Labs does voice cloning, the voice cloning you heard at the very beginning of this presentation. Midjourney image creation. Perplexity will demonstrate a search of the internet using Perplexity. Inflection AI, that will be demonstrated here. They have a Pi AI chatbot. You'll notice that all of the chatbot, the AI names are really bad names, like ChatGPT and Grok, Llama, Pi. It's really weird, but that's the way it goes. Apple and their M3 Max chip aimed very much at AI development. Bing Chat, Google Bard, and the highly anticipated Google Gemini, which we'll probably see next month. All right, what can AI do? It can write text, as I've discussed before, but it can also make images. I also discussed that. You've seen a few of those images so far. It can create video, and the videos, they're getting better. It can also create music and sound, like the cloning of my voice. And AI now can see, it can hear, and it can talk. There's icons representing each one of those elements. All right, so who's using AI? So 56% of American workers have used generative AI at least occasionally on the job. And this is from a survey published on September 13th. Yeah, field is moving so fast. I imagine these numbers that I'm going to tell you are only going up or have only gone up. So a slightly larger amount, 65% of teachers have used generative AI in their classrooms. And this is from a Quizlet survey in July. I'm also going to guess that has gone up. And of those 65% that are using it, 59% of those teachers have an extremely positive or somewhat positive perception of artificial intelligence. So teachers are not only an early adopter, but we're an enthusiastic adopter. Okay. And this is a study. We're starting to see some solid research coming out about the use of AI. And this was an interesting paper that turned a lot of heads. This was published on September 22nd. And this is from Harvard, MIT, University of Pennsylvania, and the Boston Consulting Group, BCG. They did a study where they took 758 consultants and they split them into groups. And the groups were given 18 tasks to complete. And the groups included those working without AI and those working with AI, specifically ChatGPT-4. And when I say ChatGPT-4, that is the paid version of ChatGPT, which is $20 a month. If you have just logged on to ChatGPT for the first time and you're using it for free, you're using the previous iteration of it, which is ChatGPT 3.5. ChatGPT-4 is much more capable. So what happens in this Boston Consulting Group study is the group using ChatGPT-4 completes their tasks 12.2% more tasks on average. The completed tasks are done 25% more quickly. They produced results of 40% higher quality. So they're, and to put this, give you some background, there were right and wrong answers to the conclusions of these tasks. And for the group without AI use, results were 19% less accurate than the group using AI. I know one of the concerns about AI is that it can produce false information, but so can humans. Another thing to note about this research is that the lower skilled employees were graded on their skill coming into this, and the lower skilled employees leveled up in many instances to the higher skilled employees. So Ethan Mollick from the Wharton School of the University of Pennsylvania, he's quoted by saying, "The performance improved on every dimension, every way we measured performance when using AI." All right. So those kind of numbers certainly attract a lot of attention. I mean, what would we do as teachers to complete our daily work 25% quicker and at 40% higher quality? That's really significant. All right, so let's explore a few AI technologies. And I'm going to stop my share and then change it over to the renowned ChatGPT. So this is ChatGPT for a new look to its interface. This is the $20 a month version of it. So that is a significant subscription, but you get a lot of capabilities that you don't get for free. So it's another one of those you get what you pay for sort of things. And just less than 48 hours ago, they just dropped a huge number of updates to ChatGPT. So I mentioned earlier, I'm just going to do a really simple thing. I mentioned earlier that you could write a poem about the white cane. White cane day is October 15th. Can you write me a short poem about white canes that I can use? All right, let's see what it's going to write me. Okay, and my apologies for accessibility. I cannot use a screen reader. It won't sound through the Zoom app, so I'm going to read this out. ChatGPT says, "In a world that's full of hustle and the rush from here to there, walks a symbol of resilience, a companion of care, a slender staff of guidance, and a hue as pure as light, a beacon for the sightless, cutting through the quiet night," etc., etc. So it goes on for a couple more stanzas. So ChatGPT can create from just a very simple prompt some pretty complex stuff, and it can go way more complex. One of the things I want to point out is that ChatGPT it has its own voice, kind of characteristic style of writing, all that. It's sometimes easy to detect when somebody's used it. What they're going to allow people to do is actually start to create our own personal GPTs, our own personal chatbots, per se, that can be trained on our personal data. So your own writing style, your own presentations that you've given, you can drop them into ChatGPT and you can create what would be in some instances considered like an agent, a personal agent who can provide information that's consistent with how you would provide information. And this is going to be a really valuable feature for us in the field to reduce things like inaccuracies and hallucinations. That's when an AI chatbot gets things wrong. It's called a hallucination. And we'll be able to maybe even do things, depending on how it rolls out, we'll be able to even to do things where we can perhaps even code the Braille code or drop in elements of the Braille code so that it can understand that. And we can retrieve answers for the Braille code. So another thing that's really exciting about ChatGPT is whisper speech to text recognition. I'm going to play this video, and this video's got the audio on it and the use of voiceover for accessibility. And you can see what I'm talking about. Why this is such a huge detail.
Menu, button. GPT-3, GPT-4, new chat, Cap C, 8A, T.
So I'm on the ChatGPT interface on an
business
iPhone.
Design, give me a attach, button, message. Dictation, button. Shows the voice recording interface and begins recording. New message, text field, is editing, insertion point at start. Use the rotor to access misspelled words.
Down to WSSB to visit the ORC. There, I'm going to meet with Jennifer Mary, and she's going to give me a Perkins Brailer.
Tap to stop recording. Tap to stop recording. I need to take I5 down to V. Victor.
Okay, were you able to hear that?
I need.
Okay, wonderful. I'm going to share the screen again. I was concerned that I didn't press the right button for sharing sound. All right. Now, it got kind of overlapped by the voiceover, but I said to ChatGPT, I just used my voice to add in a prompt. And I said something that would be an extraordinary challenge to, say, Siri or to Dragon Speak to translate into transpose into text. So I said, I need to take I5 down to WSSB to visit the ORC. There I'm going to meet with Jennifer Mary, and she's going to give me a Perkins Brailer. With the exception of Jennifer's last name, which is spelled M-E-R-R-Y, it said M-A-R-Y. Everything is dead accurate. I never had to say the punctuation. I never had to say the hyphen between I and 5. I never had to specify that I was providing an acronym. And I never, and it totally got the Perkins Brailer words, which most speech-to-text technology doesn't know what a Brailer is. It's not a term most people use. But look at that ability. That's an extraordinary change for our students who are going to require speech-to-text. And right now it's in AI tools, but I would suspect we start to see that more widely adopted in some of the more popular speech-to-text tools. I would at least hope. All right.
Voiceover on.
Okay. So that's ChatGPT.
Voiceover on.
Oops. All right. We have Anthropic. I'm moving on to a new technology. Anthropic's Claude 2. This is a chatbot similar to ChatGPT that is free, and this is the main competitor of GPT-4, despite the fact that almost nobody seems to have heard of it. It is more capable, that I find it to be more capable than the free ChatGPT app. And it's actually, in many instances, as good as the paid version GPT-4, the $20 a month GPT-4 version now. And it has a really cool superpower that we can use as teachers. It has an enormous context window, which means you could drop a ton of information into it at once or have an extraordinarily long conversation with it, and it will retain the knowledge of the conversation. I'm going to let a video.
Anthropic. Welcome
roll.
back, Joe. New line. Multi-line text field. Choose files. Button.
All right, so this is the Anthropic
Cancel.
Claude
Button.
chatbot.
James
Interface.
2023 inadequate fund.
And I'm gonna
JVIB
drop
07. 23. PDF selected.
the latest
JVIB
edition of
icon.
JVIB
Search.
in there.
Open. Button.
And
Open. Show
JVIB is
sidebar.
usually pretty
Button.
wordy, so not a lot of us have the time to read it every month.
Message Claude or search
Okay,
past
so
chats.
it just uploaded
Ellipsis.
JVIB
Web dialog.
PDF,
Multi-line text field. Caps. N. Space. What you.
and I'm typing,
Space.
can you summarize
in
the articles
cap
in this PDF?
space
Please keep
space
them in a single paragraph
page
and be sure
space to
put the author's name
space
and title at the beginning of each paragraph.
Space N space.
Thank you.
You exclamation mark.
It's
you.
always
Preview
nice
contents.
to be nice
Web
to your
dialog. Preview
chatbot.
contents. Selected. Form end. Selected. Multi-line text field.
All right, so
is
it's
editing.
thinking.
Form start. New line. Insertion point at start.
And it's starting to produce the summaries.
Here are one paragraph summaries of the 3 articles in the PDF. Williams, Johnson, Lavian, O'Neill, and Borkert. Quality of individualized education programs for children with visual impairments and autism spectrum disorder. The authors examined whether the individualized education programs, IEPs, of children with both visual impairment and autism spectrum disorder, ASD, addressed their complex educational needs according to national guidelines. Key findings indicated that needs in academics, assistive technology, and orientation and mobility were addressed, but other crucial areas like social skills, social, emotional, and behavioral needs, and independent living skills were often overlooked. The authors recommend greater attention to the complex needs of these children and incorporation of guidelines for children with visual impairments and ASD into federal special education law.
Okay, so there's more to it. There's obviously a paragraph for multiple articles, but hey, JVIB, if you're strapped for time, you can get this to summarize the articles. And you can think about this in the bigger picture as well. If you have a student who is reading at a different grade level than their peers in their classroom, and they can't keep up with them on the book that's being read, if you have access to the text of that book, you could drop it into Claude with its enormous context window. It can take a book the size of The Great Gatsby, and you can say, hey, can you put this into 2nd grade level reading? And it will do that. And of course, you want to read it to check to see how accurate it is compared to the real thing and whether or not it got off on some odd tangent somewhere. But this type of technology will make leveling possible, and many of our students can be integrated into their classrooms. Now, you can use Claude for all sorts of same things you would use ChatGPT for if you want it to analyze a data, like a table. If you want to turn a table into an inline element, so that it's accessible, you can do that. And I would highly encourage you to actually use Claude over the free ChatGPT. It tends to be faster. It tends to be more accurate, in my opinion. I don't have actual stats on that. It actually, when I asked it about Braille the other day, I asked it about the word tohi, which if you've taken the I think it's the Library of Congress book for learning Braille, it uses the word tohi, which is an obscure bird species, and it says you can't use the WH contraction. It's spelled TOWHEE. It actually got it right about how I would Braille that word. So I'm curious to explore the Braille capabilities of the Claude chatbot, and see just where it's at. It might be the most advanced in that respect. So when you're trying to create like a paragraph that and you want to drop in certain contractions so that the student can read that paragraph that emphasizes like the OU contraction or IN or something like that, then maybe Claude is a solution for that.
We have a couple questions in chat, but one takes us back to when you were on the phone speaking. Someone asking, how well does it understand or recognize your speech, say a person with a tracheotomy? That was one question. Then the second question, maybe you're addressing a little later, and that is asking, how do you think that this could help or hinder employability of blind or low vision? But as we see more AI, then maybe you can speak to that.
Yeah, great questions. Okay, so how does it work with somebody with a tracheotomy? I personally have not tested it with somebody with irregular speech patterns. However, I have heard from people who have, and they have said that it actually does remarkably well with those speech patterns. And I certainly would be interested in seeing a live use of it in that respect. But I think things are looking fairly positive for that. The next question is, how does this look for employment of blind of our students, our clients who are going to grow up and hit a job market that's going to be dominated very likely with AI? I think that there's going to be a lot of positives because as you'll see in my next demos, that there's a lot of the visual world that's going to become accessible now and in the next few years due to these technologies. It also is a really good skill leveler. So for some students with challenges, leveling up to the skill of students without is very difficult. And the knowledge of these tools, I think, is going to be vital for staying competitive in the job markets of the future. Okay, there's an image on the question slide of a young woman raising her hand, and she is surrounded by a room full of robots. Another one created by DALL-E 3. And DALL-E 3 is the image creation software that's built into the ChatGPT 4 chatbot. Once again, that's the $20 subscription. Okay, moving on. Perplexity. And this is one that's gained a lot of traction in the AI world. I hear about a lot of people using this. It is a free AI-powered search tool that uses Claude and ChatGPT. And eventually, probably in the near future, they will release their own proprietary AI to power their search. So I'm going to change my share to Google Chrome and hop onto Perplexity. There we go. We're on Perplexity AI. So it has a field in here. It says ask anything. And I am going to write in there, I'm going to write, tell me the latest about the APH Monarch. Okay, so it in a very quick 1 second of thinking there, it brings up a result very different from using Google. And which is what it's essentially doing. It's searching the internet for an answer. So instead of like a search engine, this is like an answer engine. And at the top of it, it has my question, tell me the latest about the APH monarch. And then it has a set of sources where it is going to derive the information that's following. And the information is the monarch is a multi-purpose device that uses DOTS tactile display technology and is being developed by the American Printing House for the Blind in collaboration with HumanWare and the National Federation for the Blind. And it actually has little footnotes about what it's referencing. I can go back up to the sources section and see that the APH, TechCrunch, YouTube, 3 more sources are cited in there. And it goes on and on about the monarch. And then it shows me some pictures of the monarch, some images, collection of, I think, a half dozen of them. There's somebody with their hands on the images. There's the kind of overhead image showing a butterfly on the multi-line graphic display. There's somebody holding a monarch. Strangely, one of these draftsman pictures got into it, the APH draftsman. Wonder how that got related to it. But speaking of related things, what's kind of cool at the very bottom, there's a section called Related, and it gives me some suggestions about future questions I might want to ask. So like it says here, what is the monarch and how does it work? When will the monarch be available for purchase? What are the benefits of the monarch for people with visual impairments? So I'm going to click on when will the monarch be available for purchase? It starts again, gives me sources, citing Yahoo, Apple. Looks like it might be, but actually gets it wrong here. The search results are about a TV series called Monarch Legacy of Monsters and not about the APH Monarch device. So it realized it did something wrong. Therefore, there is no information available on the APH Monarch device will be available for purchase. Look at that. I can't find anywhere on the internet where the Monarch is available for purchase. And I have actually scoured the internet for that information, and that's true. There's no date given by APH. So we'll see when it comes out. I know it's field tested right now or being field tested, but you get the idea. It's a new way to search the internet. It's a new way to put your query out there. If there was actually information on when the monarch was going to be released, we would see a whole new set of results and probably a few more questions about that. What is the monarch's capabilities versus the mantis? I think was one when I did this search before. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good question to ask. Because, somebody as a tech specialist like I am, somebody might ask me, well, how does the monarch compare to this? And so it kind of gets the juices going in my mind and helps to really, it seems like a very more enriching search experience. So Perplexity is the technology. It's free. It said it's powered by GPT-4 and the Claude chatbot. I'll switch back to my...
Angela has a question.
Yes.
She said, I think of students using Perplexity for research. And is there a way to cite the information that's produced? And how do you see it being effective? How do we
use it for research and for citing? Well, you got to see the example of me using it for research there. If you're in a topic that has a lot more information on the APH monarch, you can go on and on with it, and it will actually lead you to go on and on. To cite the resources, those sources given at the very top of each answer it gives. So each answer has different sections, and they all start with sources of different web pages, different other web resources that it gets its information from. You can click on those and get your URLs and then put them in the format that is required for citations. So it's a pretty straightforward system, but it gives you all that. It pretty much tracks all the information that you need when you're that you otherwise would be doing at greater lengths when using Google. And so at the end of each one of these demos, there's a further your knowledge page with links on it to learn more about that particular type of technology with AI technology. So this one has furthered your knowledge in AI search. And if you want to see something similar to it, you can check out Browse with Bing. You can check out Google Bard. If you want to search your personal files, Bard will search your personal files on your Google Drive. So if you want to know like what you wrote in an email from 15 years ago and you still have that saved in your Gmail, you can bring that up using a search prompt. So, hey, what did I say to Jimmy back in 2007? And it will summarize what you said to Jimmy. And it actually works kind of cool. So, and then of course, Bing Chat, which is one of the initial technologies that came out for AI search back in last winter. Okay, so this is a technology called Pi. And this is from Inflection AI. Inflection AI is created by a gentleman, co-founded by a gentleman, Mustafa Suleyman, who has a new book about AI and some of the implications of it. If you're interested in AI, I strongly encourage reading that. I just finished it. So Inflection AI is a chatbot that's like therapeutic. It is a conversational and emotional support chatbot, and you can talk to it like you talk to ChatGPT through text and typing, but it also has a feature that it is found in ChatGPT 4. So once again, the subscription model that you can't access unless you want to pay big bucks, which is you can talk to it and it will talk back to you. And here's a demonstration of that.
Voiceover on. Pi. Welcome to Pi. Account icon. Button. Just vent. Learn about something. Brainstorm ideas. Relationship. I need a safe space. Practice. Weigh the pros and feel calm. Button. I brainstorm ideas. Button. Text field is editing. Insertion point at start. Use the rotor to access misspelled words. Talk with Pi. Call _24. Button. Text.
Hi, Pi. I am giving a presentation right now to a group of educators for students who are blind or have low vision. And it's about artificial intelligence. And I was wondering what you think maybe some of the, well, let's say the top 3 things for a teacher in this field to know.
Word, 3 key things for educators in this field to know about AI are: AI can provide alternative ways for students with visual impairments to engage with content, like text-to-speech and screen readers. AI can analyze large amounts of student data to help educators identify patterns and trends in learning, which can be used to tailor instruction. AI can automate tasks like grading and assessment, which can free up educators to focus on more personalized and meaningful interactions with students.
Yeah, those sound like some good things. And what do you think the top 3 considerations for, let's say, AI safety would be when implementing it with our students?
You got it. Some top considerations for AI safety in education. Bias. AI systems can reinforce existing biases in society, so it's important for educators to be aware of this and mitigate it by using diverse data sets and transparent AI algorithms. Privacy. Educators should ensure that student data is protected and only shared with authorized individuals or systems. Control. Educators should retain control over the AI systems they use and make sure students understand the limitations of the AI and don't rely on it blindly.
All right. And you can have some pretty detailed conversations with that tool. And it's actually being audio based, very accessible to our students. So to further your knowledge for audio conversations, another free app is called Call Annie, which is available on iOS. And Annie is, it kind of shocks people when you first use it because Annie is a avatar, and she moves and she blinks and she looks at you and all that stuff. So be prepared for that. And then ChatGPT 4 Turbo with speech. So ChatGPT, you can actually have a conversation just like I had with the Pi chatbot a moment ago. And Pi is actually extremely witty. I asked it some pretty dry questions there, but it will often answer with something very colorful. All right, so let's talk about orientation and mobility and some purpose-made apps. We've got Oko, which is used for identifying pedestrian signals. And I took a video of my use of Oko.
Don't walk.
So I am at an intersection here.
Don't walk
Everett.
signal. Don't walk signal.
Yesterday
don't
morning,
walk.
actually, I was out there for the
Pedestrian
roundup
signal.
in Lake Stevens.
Don't walk signal. Don't walk signal.
I just pressed
don't
the
walk don't walk signal.
walk
Don't
button,
walk signal.
the crosswalk
Don't walk
button,
signal.
pedestrian signal.
Don't walk signal. Don't
pointing
walk
it
signal.
at
Don't
the
walk
opposite
signal.
corner.
Don't walk signal. Don't walk signal. Don't walk
Little
signal.
audio
Don't
overload.
walk signal. Don't 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 walk signal. Walk signal. Walk signal. Walk signal. Walk signal.
Just when the
Walk signal. Walk signal. Walk signal.
walk signal turned, it
Don't
got
walk.
it.
Don't walk. Don't walk. Don't walk. Don't walk. Don't walk. Don't walk. Don't walk.
You can actually hear the parallel traffic there. I should have put it in stereo so that you can hear the traffic like coming out of your right ear. But that's Oko, and it uses a technology called computer vision, which is going to have significant implications for access to the visual world. And so that's a first step in that direction, using computer vision to identify when the pedestrian signal changes. And it also can help you with alignment. Now I tested it out to move my camera around from side to side a little bit while keeping it in the edge of the frame. And it's not going to be extremely accurate with alignment. It's going to give you a suggestion of in which direction that opposite corner is, but you can veer off with it. So I would hope that actually in the future they incorporate some recognition of the crosswalks. All right, so I'm going to put it out for, are there any more questions right now?
You mentioned Call Annie, and then the video recording that you did of the walk and don't walk.
Yeah.
What platform was that? I missed it.
That's Oko, an app for iOS, OKO.
Boko. Okay.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so as a questions page this time, a gentleman is sitting in a room full of robots and other people. He's raising his hand. Another image created by DALL-E. Okay, this is probably the technology that's gotten the most traction and has been talked about the most in the world of blindness and low vision. It's Be My AI, which is an extension of Be My Eyes, the Be My Eyes app. Historically, an app where you called up and talked to a real person, a volunteer, and they have a huge number of volunteers, in the millions, I think, and they help guide you through accessing elements of the world that could only be accessed through vision. So Be My AI is an AI-powered version of those volunteers, and it's powered by ChatGPT 4 with vision. So I'm going to run another video of me using it. And typically people use it for like orientation and mobility tasks. You know, the first idea people get is like, oh yeah, you could be out in the world and you can use it for orientation and mobility. And it'll tell you all about all sorts of things, but it'll tell you about all sorts of things no matter what you point the camera at. And I decided I was going to point it at a worksheet.
Button. Starting camera. Take picture. Button. Take picture. Button.
All right, so I have
picture.
what's
Dimmed.
probably a
Analyze
third or
picture.
fourth
Please
grade
wait.
level multiplication worksheet. There's 9 problems on it.
The picture shows a grade 4 multiplication worksheet titled Multiply in Columns, 2-digit by 4-digit. It is from K5 Learning. The worksheet has 9 multiplication problems listed in 3 columns. Below are the problems. The picture shows a grade 4 multiplication work. 2, 7, 1, 5, 1, 5,807 multiplied by 87. 2, 7,725 multiplied by 38. 3, 7,079 multiplied by 27. 4, 9,186 multiplied by 79. 5, 6, 8, 9. At the bottom, take picture. Ask more. Button. Message. Text field. Is editing. Insertion point at start. Dictate. Double tap to
Now
start
I'm going to
dictation.
ask it a
Double
follow-up
tap with 2
question.
fingers when finished.
Can you solve these problems and show work?
Inserted. Can you solve these problems and show work? Be my AI. Certainly. Here are the solutions to the problems. 1. 5,807 multiplied by 87. 5,807 x 87. 6 hyphens. 40,649. 5,807 multiplied by 7 plus 406,490. 5,807 multiplied by 80. 6 hyphens. 505,409. 2. 7,725 multiplied by 38. 7,725 x 38. 6 hyphens. 61,800. 7,725 multiplied by 8 plus 231,750. 7,725 multiplied by.
All right, you get the idea with that. Not everybody's exactly finds that a settling thought about computer vision, especially in the education world. Knowledge about this technology, check out these other technologies, the Envision AI glasses, which are a very pricey set of glasses that have ChatGPT in them for once again the same technology you just saw that has the ChatGPT vision technology. This does not, the Meta Ray-Ban smart glasses with Llama 2 is a product, but doesn't yet have a specific use case for blind and low vision individuals, but you get the idea of what perhaps a stylish solution might look like in the future. The Seeing AI app, which many of us are familiar with, ChatGPT 4 Turbo with Vision, and the kind of the holy grail of computer vision is the idea of it being able to interpret video in real time. You can imagine what the implications for orientation and mobility would be, especially. And if you're curious about the initial stages of that, you can check out a company called 12 Labs. And right now you can sign up for that. And then it has a video library and you can search for certain elements in it. And you can write something like, hey, find a scene where there's a fork involved, and it will go search through its video library and find you all the fork scenes and all that. And so that's a step in that direction. I imagine that we will see that type of technology in due time. And a lot of that technology will be valuable also when watching movies. All right, so what's the future look like? We're going to see, in terms of future blind and low vision people, and in terms of being teachers, there's going to be the advancement of personal assistants. So we're going to see Siri, thankfully, disappear. Well, I can't say that, Apple doesn't publish that, but at some point Siri's got to become something that is useful. Siri, Cortana, Alexa, OK, Google, we're likely to see them move into the world of AI, generative AI technology. AI-driven speech to text tools like ChatGPT's Whisper, which I demoed before. There'll be chatbots for tutoring. Neural engine powered haptic tools. Now, neural engines are part of the processing system for computers that run AI. So if you've seen the new Apple Watch with its double tap feature, that is actually an AI powered feature. So it learns how you move your fingers so that it can produce the desired effects of selecting different elements on your watch screen. So there's going to be likely going to be custom voices for text to speech. You heard my voice at the very beginning. That was cloned. That was a very low quality cloning. If you check out 11 Labs and see the quality of cloning there, that's extraordinary compared to what I showed you. So there's Braille code. We're probably going to see Braille code knowledge, increased wearable integration of computer vision technologies like the glasses, And we'll start to see complex computer tasks controlled with voice commands. So could you imagine opening up a picture in Photoshop and simply just telling Photoshop what to do with that picture? And they actually have started that technology to some extent, but you know, you could take some programs that are about as intuitive to fly as a fighter jet and make them really easy to access. Okay, so the future, there's a picture of a woman resting her chin on her hand with a look up in the air like she doesn't know what to think. This is an image created by Dolly 3. She's a teacher with the chalkboard, old-fashioned chalkboard in the background. Okay, I know I only have a few minutes here, but AI is controversial. So it says 52% of Americans are more concerned than excited about artificial intelligence. And this is from Pew Research. 36% are equally excited and concerned, and 10% are more excited than concerned. So I know the teaching world gets pretty excited about this stuff. I don't know everybody's feelings here on the webinar, but the feelings of Americans as a whole aren't exactly positive. In the interest of time, I'm going to just kind of go ahead to considerations for AI safety for teachers. And really, it's important as we start to implement these tools more and more, we need to know how to be safe with it. So you got to be, when you use AI, you got to check its work. Don't trust what it's saying to be true or unbiased. I know when things are automated and they show up on a screen, it's like irresistible sometimes. You just think, oh, it came from a computer. It must be totally right, you know. So we really need to question its output. And before we use them in with our students, we need to really test them for reliability and accuracy. So the prompts you input in most of these technologies are going to be used to further train these technologies. So when you're doing it to, say, help you write an assessment, remember, never input confidential or identifying information about a student or a situation. So like that background part of your FVA, don't even bother touching that in AI. Leave that to your own writing skills. So AI gathers personal data and it could pose risks to privacy. So be alert for very convincing fraudulent cyber attacks. AI can produce some pretty stunning fakes. So be aware of that in your email inbox and beyond. It's trained on internet data. And so it's often without the consent of the creators of that data. So photographers, artists, musicians, you know, all that. It's trained on their data. They didn't expect it to be trained, nor were compensated for that. So there could be intellectual property considerations. And considerations for before you start using AI with your students. So ensure that the tools are age appropriate and aligned with student developmental strategies. Receive training on it. So encourage leadership to provide training. Actually, one of the stats I heard near the end of the summer, a paper was published that said 87% of teachers have not received training in AI. So I appreciate you all being here for this training. I'm sure that number 87% isn't that high anymore, but still, it's leadership needs to be made aware that this is coming and will have huge effects on the education world. It's not that it's coming, it's here, actually. So constantly before you implement, constantly evaluate the impact of AI on student learning and be strategic and thoughtful about how it's used, and make sure it's supporting your teaching goals and not undermining them. So make sure you receive training, but also make sure your student receives training before using the tools freely, without supervision. And, you know, be sure to point out abilities and limitations and how their data is being used and if their privacy is being protected. So, and when your student is using it, you need to ensure that other teachers involved in that student's daily routines are aware of the use of it and the potential ways that it could be misused. So for instance, that Be My AI example where I showed you those math problems and how easy it was for it to produce the work. Hey, copy, paste. And, if your students got AI, Be My AI, as part of their school day, and they need to know what the limits of their use should be. And of course, stay transparent. So in many situations, it's going to be important to cite when AI is being used. And just to finish off, a quote I have for you from a gentleman, and Andre Karpathy of OpenAI. He once had a very big job for Tesla. He's a very well-known person in the industry. He says, looking at LLMs, so large language models, which is what powers many of the technologies I showed you today. So looking at LLMs as chatbots is the same as looking at early computers as calculators. We're seeing an emergence of a whole new computing paradigm, and it is very early. It's accompanied by an image of a businesswoman sitting at a desk with a robot looking over her shoulder, created by Adobe Firefly. All right. I think I ended. Oh, shoot. I went 1 minute over. All right. I don't know how long people are able to stay. I'm happy to answer questions.
I do have a question.
Hey, Jade.
I I have actually dabbled quite a bit with Bard, and it's alarming how detailed it can get. While you were chatting, I did ask Bard to tell me a couple of things about Jade Sines, who works at Bellingham School District, blah, blah, blah. And it was very alarming to me, the story that it came up with about me.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering what implications this has for instructors. Like how, we know that it's out there. We know kids are using it. So how, as instructors, do we double check and make sure that they're not using it? Like how, like at the university level and stuff like that, how are instructors being able to be ensured that the work that's being turned in is actually the student's work and not AI?
Yeah, this is a great question. The answer is there's really not a foolproof way to figure it out. There's a lot of people say there's AI detectors they use. I think that is being debunked as being useful. Actually, it's really hard to detect AI. What I think needs to happen in this era is not so much that we need to know when students are using it and when they're not. It's that we need to create different systems of assessment for our students. So the essay, for instance, is arguably becoming antiquated.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, and so I've noticed in one university program that I'm acquainted with, they're asking for students to create videos where the student processes the information and expresses it in the video, and that is a way to avoid AI being completely in the loop.
Right. Okay. Perfect. Thank you.